The city, a life support system for millions of people. Houses that stretch to the sky or sprawl along the ground. This is our man-made environment, a complex machine laboring to meet the needs of all the people who live here. Our man-made environment. It can be designed to meet the need for beauty. It can be designed, but most of the time it just grows. All people need food, shelter, and air to breathe. They also need beauty and good design. The man-made environment must serve the needs of its people.
It's not enough that we build new housing. We must, in a way, create new environments.
Just to keep up with the growth of the area between Washington and Baltimore, for example, you'd have to build a Columbia every single year. And it's possible. It's got to be the most exciting task that man has ever undertaken, far more exciting than going to the moon.
We live in an age of technology in which machines touch every part of our lives. It is not surprising that music has also been influenced by technology.
One of the things that I enjoy most about electronic music is its immediacy. The composer normally waits quite a long time between the time he puts notes on paper and hears his piece performed in a concert hall. But a composer working with electronic music is more like a painter or a sculptor who works directly with his medium. You hear the sounds as they are created.
One of the consequences of the new types of sound is that the old notation using notes on staffs simply doesn't work anymore. We find that we have to introduce an entirely new sort of notation which often takes the form of graphs.
When a string on a string bass is made to vibrate or oscillate, a sound is produced. By changing the length of the oscillating strings with the left hand, the instrument produces different pitches. We are looking at a machine called an electronic sound synthesizer. The synthesizer can create and alter sounds. Built into the synthesizer are a number of oscillators. These oscillators produce sound electronically. Each oscillator produces a different kind of sound with a different wave form. This is a sine wave. Another oscillator produces a triangular wave. A square or pulse wave. And a sawtooth wave. These waveforms are the building blocks of music. The pitch or rate of oscillation of each waveform can be controlled. By mixing waveforms, richness and variety of sound can be achieved. Musical instruments can be imitated on the synthesizer by creating and mixing waveforms and filtering and enveloping these sounds. As well as musical instruments, natural sounds can also be imitated on the synthesizer. The great variation of sound is possible because the computer aids the composer in controlling and changing waveforms, envelopes, and filters. Through the use of synthesizers and computers, it is possible to create, imitate, and change sound. A whole new range of creative possibilities has been opened to the musician by electronic music.
Harmony means a pleasing interplay of all the parts of the things we see and hear. Harmony may be a pleasing interplay of the sounds we hear, as in the drip, trickle, and fall of water. However, not all sounds are in harmony. We see harmony in the arrangement of ideas on this sign. However, there are signs that are jumbled, confused, and therefore out of harmony. The color on this building is too bold and important to be in harmony with its surroundings. Selected colors, carefully placed together, create a pleasing interplay of colors and background. Carefully grouped shapes also create harmony. We can create harmony in art.
The waters before and the waters after, now and forever flowing, follow each other. That's a verse from an old Chinese poem expressing what they call the Tao, the way, course, or flow of nature seen as spontaneous and liquid movement. For the whole world is liquid, and even rocks, bones, and shells are pieces of sculpture whose forms memorialize the essential patterns of flowing water. We look for firm, rigid ground upon which to stand. Yet, as one of our own poets says, the hills are shadows, and they flow from form to form, and nothing stands. There is no firm ground. We live on a ball, floating and falling in space. The very liveliness of life and death, for the two are inseparable, is change. And this movement, this energy, cannot be captured or pinned down. Water taken from a stream in a bucket no longer streams. And wind caught in a box is dead air, no longer blowing. Flow go with it, then, and do not resist time, change, and death. For the only real problematic form of death is rigidity and resistance to change. The waters before and the waters after, now and forever flowing, follow each other.
Anybody home?
I'm downstairs.
Okay, I'm coming down. Sid, late as usual. Sorry, man, I left my bucks at home and I had to go get them. Aren't you watching that show Wilson Assigned on TV?
Seen one guy trekking across Alaska, you seen them all.
Looks like another commercial.
When winter storms strike urban areas, many things may happen. Schools close, traffic snarls, businesses are hurt, and people are killed. But the number of people killed or injured by winter storms would be considerably reduced if some simple rules were followed. Don't drive if you can help it. If you must, drive slowly, defensively, and be sure your car is winterized. Winter storms come in many forms: ice, sleet, heavy snow, and extremely low temperatures. So remember, pay attention to official bulletins.
The far northwest of Canada, the Klondike. Here in 1896, George Washington Carmack struck gold. As news reached the outside world, a stampede followed. 1 million made plans to join the rush for gold. 100,000 set out. Only 40,000 made it. Some found a fortune. Others turned back empty-handed. But without exception, they were completely unprepared for the severity of the winter in the Klondike.
Sid, wake up. Stop daydreaming. Get up.
The trouble with him was that he was without imagination. He was quick and alert in the things of life, but only in the things, not in the significances.
Try to imagine a world without color, where even the flowers would be gray. In such a gray world, a single spot of color holds our attention. In nature, we find the full range of color in countless variations. There are many ways that color helps us to organize our living, but even more important is the pleasure we get from looking at color for its own sake.